Sakale, all sannyasi renounces Muni, I, Kainu, made, Nimantrana, invited to me, your good self, Yadi, if, Aisa, come, Purna, fulfillment, Haya becomes Mora, my, Mana, mine. My dear Lord, I have invited all the sannyasis of Benares to my home. My desire will be fulfilled if you also accept my invitation. Purport: the Brahmana knew that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the only Vaishnava sannyasi in Benares at that time, and all the others were Mayavadis. It is the duty of a grihasta to sometimes invite sannyasis to take food at his home. This grihasta Brahmana wanted to invite all the sannyasis in his house to his house, but he also knew that it would be very difficult to induce Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to accept such an invitation because the Mayavadi sannyasis would be present. Therefore, he fell down at his feet and fervently appealed to the Lord to be compassionate and grant his request. Thus, he humbly submitted his desire. And the next verse is, my dear Lord, I know that you never mix with other sannyasis, but please be merciful unto me and accept my invitation. Purport: an acharya, or great personality of the Vaishnava school, is very strict in his principles, but although he is as hard as a thunderbolt, sometimes he's as soft as a rose. Thus, actually, he is independent. He follows all the rules and regulations strictly, but sometimes he slackens his policy. It was known that Lord Chaitanya never mixed with the Mayavadi sannyasis, yet he conceded to the request of the Brahmanas as stated in this next verse. So this is the example of an acharya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is an acharya, and an acharya can change the details. And the reason acharya can change the details is because he understands the essence. Even in material life, in normal life, if you want to do something properly, you need to understand the essence of what you're doing. And oftentimes we get caught up in the details. So therefore we get taken by a wave of details, not understanding really what we are doing. So spiritual life can also be like that. There's a principle in spiritual life which is called ritual. Does anyone know what a ritual is? You can raise your hand. What is a ritual?
The artificial aspect of it, like the external aspect.
No.
Tradition?
Yes, but it became a tradition. But what is originally a ritual?
Purificatory acts done regularly?
It becomes purificatory, but there's a reason for that. And the reason is the meaning of the ritual. Any of the backbenchers? The ritual is actually a manifestation of a realization. This is the meaning of Caitanya Caritamrita. What is the meaning of the word Caitanya Caritamrita?
The next Lord Chaitanya.
Yes, it's the expression of the soul in his blissful state. That's what Amrita means. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and he showed in his life what it's like to be in constant ecstasy. And throughout his life, that's what he showed. So a ritual is when this expression of ecstasy is manifested. For example, chanting Hare Krishna is a manifestation of bliss. But sometimes it can be taken as a ritual because we come every day, Krishna, Krishna, I'm giddy, 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 gada, gada, gada. Then it becomes like, or sometimes you walk around, the temple like this, carrying a bead bag, and you're not even chanting, you're not even talking to Krishna. But the actual, it becomes like offering obeisances. You come to the temple, you offer obeisances. Or some people, they do like this. What does that mean? Like, let's bring the ground to my forehead, because my forehead is sacred. Therefore, everyone should come and bring the ground to my forehead. You go to India, everybody does that. So then the people that have been to India, they come here and they do this. But what does it mean? It means that I take the ground and I put it to my forehead. But in the scriptures, it actually says, you bring your forehead to the ground. So these are rituals that they become twisted due to lack of understanding of what the essence is. Chandrika is calling me. I'll leave that. So it's like if you understand the essence of everything. For example, you understand what is the essence of making money. How do you make money? What's the essence? The basic principle of making money. No, not the purpose. I'm talking about what is the core thing about making money. What's
work.
Huh?
Work.
No, because people work really hard and they're really poor. Huh? To spend. No, that's the purpose of making money. I'm asking about how do you make money?
Oh.
The essence.
You buy something at a high price.
That's how you do it, but the principle of making money is that you always spend less than you make. That's how you make money. You spend less money than what you make. The principle of leadership is you have a vision, and you get people that are better than you at doing it, and you gather them, and you get them to follow the vision and do it because they do it better than you. Even if you look at the life of Prabhupada couldn't really, the way devotees distributed books, they did it better than Prabhupada, because Prabhupada went in Delhi, he distributed, and it was quite difficult for him in his age, etc., etc. So devotees did it better. Devotees managed, certain things they did better. But the principle of leadership is to bring people together and get them to do what you get better. The principle of being a Brahmana, what is the principle of being a Brahmana? Is to understand the purpose of life so well that you become detached from everything and you become so independent that you don't need anything. That's the principle of a Brahmana. What is the principle of a Shudra? The essence. Huh? Yeah, that means find a good master. So these are the essence of everything in life. So therefore, if one wants to understand the difference between a cult and a process like Krishna consciousness, have you joined a cult, or have you joined a place where there's a process? And sometimes it feels like you've joined a cult, right? Because you come every day and you do the same thing and you don't understand really what's going on. So the difference between the cult and the proper spiritual process is the act of understanding what the essence is. Isn't it? So the next question then will be, how do we understand the essence of something? How do we understand the essence of Krishna consciousness? Because that principle, as I said previously, can be applied to all aspects of life, including material life. So how do we understand the essence of a spiritual life, of Krishna consciousness? By understanding that Krishna is everywhere and he is in all beings, but when you're talking to people, you're talking to different people. You've got to the most crazy, to the most intelligent, and everything in between. So how do you apply the process of Krishna consciousness in a way that it will become, that you will understand the essence of it? The principle is that because there's so much variety in people, in places, in cultures, then the essence is that you are able to apply Krishna consciousness to everyone at all times and make them understand what Krishna is, according to time, place and circumstance. And this is the business of the Acharya. Therefore you see Prabhupada's life. He was very special because Prabhupada actually performed what you call a heart transplant. He took Krishna consciousness from its place of birth, or where Krishna was born in Vrindavan, and he managed to bring that in the midst of 26th Avenue, where nothing looked like Vrindavan. You know, what people do in 26th Avenue is quite different than what's going on in Vrindavan in 1966. So Prabhupada managed to do that, but if you analyze the reason why Prabhupada did it, is because Prabhupada understood better than anyone else what the essence of Krishna consciousness is, and therefore he did not overly apply the details and the rules that pertain, the rituals that pertain to the process of Krishna consciousness. And therefore he was successful, because that application worked anywhere, and Krishna showed it by putting Prabhupada basically in the worst of the places. How could you get any worse than 22nd Avenue, where everyone was just a constant high from other substances than Krishna consciousness itself? So the effort of the devotee in prosecuting the spiritual life should be to seek that essence of Krishna consciousness, and the best way to do this is to apply whatever we learn in Krishna consciousness to others. So this is what we call, in common terminology, preaching. So therefore, if you preach, we won't use a bad word, we'll just say, if you try to make someone else understand Krishna consciousness, you'll see that the universality of Krishna, and you will be able to take only the essence, because only the essence will work. But unfortunately, sometimes we get people to eat like us, or to dress like us, or to talk like us, or to think like us, or to act like us. And when you when you do that, then you become like me. That's preaching. Isn't that great? Well, it's not. Because we don't try to make people to become like us. God bless us. Save us, I mean. No, we're trying to give Krishna. But because we are giving Krishna to so many different people, in different circumstances, we need to adapt and change so that it suits the particular time, place, and circumstance. When one has the ability to do this, one really understands Krishna, and Krishna will empower someone who does that. For example, when you come to a temple, and there are many temples around the world, there are deities in the temple. But when you come to a temple and you serve, you become the servant of the deities, then the first thing you do, you try to understand why the microphone doesn't work suddenly. But you try to understand what the mood, what do those deities want. So by doing that, we again understand what are we here for and who are we serving. And therefore we act accordingly. This is the difference between the Kanishta Adhikari, the neophyte, and the Madhyama Adhikari. And the Madhyama Adhikari is he who understands that Krishna is actually everywhere and how I can give that to everyone. Otherwise, one can really get absorbed in his own life, in his own rituals, and worry about one's own self or one's own progress more than trying to see if Krishna actually fits in all places, in all times, in all circumstances. And if we manage to do this, then we actually understand that Krishna exists. Because the problem is to understand that Krishna is here in a temple, or Krishna is wherever I can perceive him, but he's not actually everywhere. Because when there's a situation or there's a problem, then we deal with the problem. We don't really try to see if Krishna is there in the problem and how is that coming through. So the best way to do that is to try and place Krishna in the situations where he's most unlikely to be. In the consciousness, in the modes where he's most unlikely to be, like the mode of ignorance and passion. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the greatest Acharya, invented the Sankirtan. Because the Sankirtan is something that you take out in the midst of the ignorant and passionate mood. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu were doing Harinam Sankirtan in Navadvip with a group of devotees, they went past, they had those liquor stores in those days, what they call now pubs. And people were drinking. So at that time, the Harinam went past, and a few drunkards came out, and they were imitating, making fun of the Harinam. And you know how they do here. Hey, Hare Krishna, so funny, all drunk. And one of the devotees approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thinking it was very disrespectful and said, should we stop them? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, it's okay. The effect of the alcohol will wear off, but the effect of the holy name won't. So the holy name is the essence, and therefore Vyasadeva was chastised by Narad Muni for saying, you're not talking about the essence. You're talking about the rituals, but you're not talking about the essence. So bring the essence. So here, in this section of the Chaitanya Caritamrita, a Vaishnava sannyasi never goes to Mayavadis to hear them, what to speak of, eat with them. But somehow or other, he was convinced by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Tapana Mishra. And why did he do that? It's because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Acharya, and the Acharya is the one who understands the essence and is able to deal with it everywhere, at any time. So we should also become Acharyas like that. Not with a big A, but with a small a. And becoming such an Acharya means that one is able to transfer Krishna consciousness to others. But that attempt has to be made constantly, otherwise we cannot understand how Krishna is everywhere. So therefore Prabhupada emphasized that preaching is the number one activity of the devotee, however that may be. Otherwise we will never understand the essence, and if we don't understand the essence, it will be very difficult to continue with Krishna consciousness. Because at the beginning everything is, esoteric and organic and nice, but after a while it becomes very ritualistic and it becomes painful if we don't understand what the essence of it is. Or sometimes we perform Krishna consciousness, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions, by fear, which is an anartha as well, by fear of ostracism. So sometimes you enter the society and you become all, and then you're scared to bloop or do something else because you're scared about what people are going to say about you. But if one understands the essence of Krishna consciousness, then it's easy to prosecute. Okay? Any questions or comments? By understanding what the essence is. Because when you apply the essence, it works and people become attracted to Krishna. That's how you understand. If you do something and people are not attracted to Krishna, then it basically, you've diluted something, or you're overdoing a particular ritual which is not necessary and it doesn't appeal to everyone. But Krishna actually appeals to everyone. So if you present Krishna as he is, then it's appealing to everyone. However you do that, that's really having to understand the essence. So you can make changes, but the result has to be there. And you have to be willing to change if the result is not there. But the change must be there, definitely. Because you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again, and it doesn't work, right? I mean application. So within the rituals there are different things. Like for example, there are essential rituals. The ritual is basically the sadhana bhakti, whereas you perform activities like chanting Hare Krishna and taking prasadam with the devotees and reading the books and being in association of devotees. So they're the things that actually strengthen coming to the morning program. They're the things that strengthens the devotees. But when you strengthen yourself, you have to understand why you're strengthening yourself. It's because you've got to develop this intelligence to be able to apply Krishna consciousness in ways and shapes and forms that actually work with the public. So when you know that it's no good, is when people are not responding to it. And we've seen that in our movement. Oftentimes it's been applied, but it just doesn't work. So then you've got to act like an acharya, whereas you have to change you have to adapt the application so that the application works. And that's when you know that you're applying Krishna consciousness properly. Otherwise we can become very ritualistic. Just do the same thing over and over and again, and then why aren't people joining our ranks? Why are they not attracted?
Thinking about the morning program that we do, from Bhagavatam to Bhagavatam class, and Japa, reading these Guru Puja Bhagavatam class. And I'm wondering how, if anybody knows, Srila Prabhupada established all the details of it, if it kind of came about gradually. I've heard that Guru Puja wasn't necessarily a daily thing at one point. And that it became more prominent at a certain point.
Yeah, as far as I understand, Prabhupada introduced it gradually. Like Lord Nrsimhadev prayers were introduced when there was an incident. I think when he was getting sick, isn't it? And then Prabhupada introduced that. Then it became a daily thing. The point is that you can take the rituals in two ways. You can take it, I just do that every day because I've got a bit of autism, and therefore it's good for me because I feel secure. Or you can take it as a source of strength, where you come and you actually absorb yourself in the meaning of the ritual, which is basically it's the revelation of someone who's actually in contact with Krishna. That's why Prabhupada told us to worship Tulsi. She's a pure devotee. So you worship a pure devotee. There are so many things that we do in the morning program. The morning program is devised perfectly to gain strength from it. But it can turn into a ritual if you don't understand what you're doing. The effect will still be there to some extent, but the problem is that you'll get bored. And that's what happens. A lot of devotees come to the morning program or perform, Krishna conscious activities, but after a while, after a few years, they get bored and they just stay home. And then they do a little bit at home, and then less, and then less, and then turn on Foxtel. Because the essence is not understood. So it was introduced gradually, because I think the Prabhupada saw where his disciples were at, so he gradually put this process in place.
Thank you, Prabhu. Can you explain how we can develop this attitude of I live to be collected? Because no one, like we see in the past, maybe they had the devotees, they listen to their opinion, or someone correcting, and of course I understand there is certain etiquette involved in correcting someone, but like even as individuals, no one wants to be told that this is not how we do it, and especially nowadays it's kind of equal, everyone comes and it's kind of considered equal, but not so much etiquette is taught that maybe so how do, as individuals, whatever little we are, whether we knew or practicing for so many years, to develop this attitude of I live to be collected?
I think it's when the devotee has difficulties, then they will approach the senior devotees and ask, why is it that I'm having difficulties? At that time you can introduce the finer details of Vaishnava etiquette. The Vaishnava etiquette is always there in the books and it's spoken of, but you'll find that sometimes it's too confronting for some people. Like I had one devotee who came to me yesterday and asked me, What's obeisances about? How do you offer obeisances properly? So then you could see there was a mood of inquiry, and you know, so then I explained what I knew about it. So I think in that way the Vaishnava etiquette can be introduced according to the, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, you know, it requires two qualities, be humble and submissive. I think giving instructions otherwise will be maybe confronting for some people. That's why you see that the Indians, they accept Krishna consciousness quite readily because they're very humble by nature and they're very compliant. Whereas others may find it very, you know, some people, they walk in the temple and they think, why should I bow down? Some people refuse to bow down in the temple. And sometimes I've seen younger devotees go up to the guest and say, put your head down. Because, you know, this is the temple. Not understanding the essence of it. Even in next hour of devotion, there's a statement, whereas if a pujari performs an arati to the deities and they're by themselves, if a guest walks, he can stop the arati to come and attend to the guest. So that's not, you know, normally it says also that you should not stop when you begin puja, you should not stop, keep going. So this is what we've got to be attentive to. At the same time, we cannot dilute the process and accept a lack of etiquette as the standard. But for that it takes understanding of when and how to apply it to the person, because everybody is different. So someone may be ready to hear after 1 month, sometimes it may take 6 months, when they're ready to hear that yes, actually maybe you should bow down to the temple instead of sweeping it with your 4 fingers and put it to your head. You know, so you have to have that approach, that sensitivity to others, to apply the etiquette in a way that is favorable to them.
So, I understand what you're saying. So, sometimes it's treated to get a thing, and rather than say something, you get a
Yeah.
or once they themselves Krishna in their heart, they be able to hearing and watching other devotees.
Well, you have to be careful also that the lack of etiquette doesn't, one, create a lower standard. That's first thing. And second thing, you got to watch that this lack of etiquette does not impede others' performance of the devotional service. So these two things you have to be very attentive of. And if it does, then there has to be intervention. And again, the intervention has to be to the degree that the person can take it to some extent. Right. Yeah. Sometimes we forget the meaning of service. Service means I'll do it for someone else. No, service is not something to please oneself, and so if someone else is not pleased by that, then. But interestingly, that Krishna spoke about the rituals in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. In the 3rd canto, Vidura says he pities people that are stuck into the rituals. And in the 10th canto, Krishna talks to his father, and he asks a very question during Govardhana Hill Puja. He says, why are you doing this? Why are you doing those rituals? He challenged the fact of, you know, the act of doing rituals, not understanding really what it was for. So you'll see in Indian families, the tradition comes down that they do rituals, and at the end you see people coming in front of the altar and doing this, that, you know, kind of thing, squatting, whatever. And you ask them why, and they say, because my mother was doing it, and her mother taught her that, you know, and in ISKCON we definitely do not want to do this. We want to understand the meaning of why we're going around Tulsi. We want to understand the meaning of what we're offering obeisances. We actually recognizing the presence of Krishna, so therefore we offer obeisances. Not that we all just, at 4:30 in the morning we just do 3 push-ups in front of the deities because that's what everyone does. But it becomes like that because everyone does it, so therefore I do it. You see, sometimes I've noticed in temples, something is picked up, and when you go to the source of it, it's because someone started doing it some years ago, and everybody does it. Why should you do that? So the devotees in ISKCON, they have to be madhyamādhikaris. They have to understand what they're doing, and the only way you can understand it is when you apply what you are doing to others, and you'll see whether it works. And if it doesn't, that means you have not understood the essence of it. And you will not understand the essence of it if you just stay home also. It'll be very difficult. Yes, ma'am.
Just point of information on Gujarat's question. Most of the elements of the temple program were somewhat there up until about 72. And in 1972, Srila Prabhupada spent 6 to 8 months in Los Angeles. And there he established a whole morning program, the evening program, the Bhagavatam class, all the artists, the deities, the festivals, the whole thing. And then he invited managers to come from around the world to take that movement back to temples around the world.
Yeah.
But that was the history of it.
So it took from 67 to 72.
Yeah, I mean, Mangalaki was there as early as 1970. Guru Puja, I think, came around 72. And so things were there.
So that was quite gradual because he started in 66, right? At 26 Second Avenue. So there was 6 years before establishing the morning program. So which was more than half his time because Prabhupada left in 77. So it was quite gradual actually.
Well, it wasn't. I mean, until he had, because when he established Los Angeles in Los Second Avenue, that was, he made that the Islam world headquarters at that time. So that's when he started to, solidify things. Before that, it was just, building the society, building up the building.
Right.
Even like when he established the deities in London in 69, 68. He was only being dressed once a week. They start dressing at 7 o'clock and then finish dressing at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah. And then later, I think it was in 1970, then he came and asked them how many outfits do you have now? They said, we've got 76 people and they can dress them every day. You dress them up on lighting and finish by 7 o'clock at darshan. So those things were already there, but then in 72 in Los Angeles, he made it systematic.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Hare Krishna.